media literacy and like making sure that people understand the context, if something's legit or not, and just like understanding how to like decipher different kinds of media really ties into that because it ultimately impacts how we perceive others.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of the show. I'm Michaela Pereira. I'm so glad you're here with us. While this is not a show about politics, I'll leave that up to the other podcasts and TV shows. I do want to remind you, in an election year, of the importance of exercising your right to vote. Your voice matters and is needed. It is also important to stay informed on the issues and to be able to discern fact from fiction in what you read and hear. Goodness knows there's a whole lot of noise out there in an election year, particularly on social media. Well, today's guest believes in the importance of media literacy for young people in particular. She's part of the MediaWise Teen Fact-Checking Network, which essentially is a virtual newsroom of middle and high school students who debunk misinformation that spreads where? Online. Pride David joins me now. She's one of the teen fact checkers. What a delight to see you and to meet you, you fact-checking queen. How are you?
Hi, Michaela. It's nice to meet you.
This is such a delight. You know, I'm embarrassed to say I didn't know this existed. So I'm going to get you to tell me about the Teen Fact-Checking Network in a second. But I want to know how you got involved in fact-checking and debunking misinformation. Where did that interest first spark in you?
So it sparked in my sophomore year of high school when I was taking my earth science class and my teacher was talking about climate change. And he was expressing his opinions about it, and I disagreed with his opinions, but I heard him out anyways. And he brought up some really great points about the way that we consume news and why we're so gullible to just believe anything that we see online oftentimes, and to really like look deeper into the information that we're receiving.
And you felt a fire ignite in you, it sounds like.
Yeah.
So since then, you're now a senior, in high school.
Yes.
You're graduating. By the time this airs, you'll have graduated. We'll talk about your plans coming up in a little while. But you really have dug into this notion of debunking misinformation, fact-checking, et cetera. In fact, you've worked with PBS. You've been involved with Nickelodeon News. It's really about media literacy to you. Why is media literacy so vital, do you think, to you?
To me, I say media literacy is really vital because it ultimately impacts how we perceive one another. The way that people of minority groups specifically are depicted in news will really be reflective in society of how they are treated by other people. And I think that media literacy and like making sure that people understand the context, if something's legit or not, and just like understanding how to like decipher different kinds of media really ties into that because it ultimately impacts how we perceive others.
You know, and by the way, I should, just for clarity's sake, let's define media literacy as the ability to analyze stories that are appearing in the media and being able to determine their credibility, right? That's the thing. And I think it feels as though media literacy has taken a back seat in general. Doesn't it feel that way, or is that just me?
I can see that in certain spaces. I would say because I'm more involved in the media literacy world, I feel like it's actually taken off a lot more because a lot more people are aware of media literacy in some way, shape, or form. Whether it's like, oh, that's misinformation on Facebook, or TikTok flagged this post as needs a little bit more context. I feel like people are learning and being more aware of just like false information in general.
Well, and you make a really good point, because I think we have to put that critical thinking hat on our brains when we are just scrolling idly through social media. I mean, a lot of people use it as a form of recreation, right? Just looking at funny videos or seeing what's trending or whatever. But you have to have that sort of critical thinking cap on at all times.
Yeah, you do.
So tell me about the YouTube series that you are part of. It's called Is This Legit?
So the YouTube series that we have on MediaWise is called Is This Legit? And We fact check viral misinformation that you see online, but it's in longer form content so that we can talk about skills that may need more explaining, such as a video I did on Wikipedia and the legitimacy of using it for research.
Oh, tell me more about that. I love this.
Yes, it was a really interesting fact check, actually. We were trying to find out if Wikipedia is a reliable source to use when researching for academic purposes, primarily. And we found that it can be reliable, but to use it as like a way to gain background knowledge and information over just using it like as a one-stop shop, if you will.
Well, because Wikipedia that's the kind of the beauty of Wikipedia is that it is community sourced, right?
Yes.
But that's relying on the community to have done their own fact checking. And that's not
Yes.
necessarily, you can't count on that.
Yes. And information changes every day, especially on topics that are really serious and political. The information is constantly changing and updating. If you're using a science like thing, it's also going to be changing a lot. So it's really important that we like keep up to date and that you make sure that you double check that information that you're seeing on Wikipedia and not just going off of that.
It's interesting to me that you're using, and maybe I'll even ask you about how you're using social media and videos that you guys create for TikTok or Instagram or Reels for teens, because that is kind of the best medium to reach them, right? You can't necessarily just go out on the sidewalk and start talking to teens. That's not the way things work. You have to reach them where they're at. So you guys have created a series of these videos that go out on TikTok debunking things.
So the way that we mainly do this is by viral news. So we pick out claims that people are already seeing on their feeds and we fact check it. And we basically just teach people in a minute or two how to fact check misinformation, some media literacy skills they can use. One of the biggest ones that we use is a keyword search of looking on Google, looking at different sources, asking questions like who's behind the information, when was this posted, some more context that may be needed, because with media literacy and misinformation and fact checking it, I feel like a really big component of everything is context. And oftentimes, if you're seeing like a quick meme or whatnot, or like post, joke, whatever, it's often missing a lot of context.
That is one of the things that often gets missed in these moments. They're going by so quickly. And maybe that's what the attraction of these things is that how quick they are and easy to digest. But it is also putting the work squarely on the shoulders of the consumer to say whether that is fact or fiction, right? And that's where it's important for us. So these little videos, how do you think they're going over? Are they being responded to? Do you get good reaction from your peer group?
I think that's a mixed question because I feel like some people are like really supportive of it, and then other people, they don't really understand why the work that I do is so important.
Oh, tell me more about that. Does it feel like it just is going over their head, or do you feel like they think you're being a buzzkill?
Sometimes a mix of both.
Really? How do you feel about that?
Well, someone has to do it. You got to be a buzzkill sometimes.
Okay, sometimes. When we talk about the role that social media plays in the people of your generation, it is a big part of your life, more so than it was and it is for people of my generation. Talk to me about that.
Social media is definitely like a really big factor into our lives. I think that it has really like shaped us as people, especially with online communities now. There is a community for almost anything online, and it can be the best and also the worst thing at times. It can feel like you always have like a sense of support and network for whatever you're going through or like whatever new thing that you're interested in. But it can also sometimes feel like it's putting you into a box of like who you can be. So it has its pros and cons.
How do you help other teens navigate the downside of that? What you were just saying, because that's a really important part. If it feels like you're getting boxed in, if you're being put in a corner, what advice do you have for, I don't know, standing strong against that?
I would say it definitely depends on what it is, but I would recommend looking at like both sides of something. So if you're really into politics, I would look at both perspectives of politics, if not more perspectives. And I would read on sources from side A and side B, and really just like try to get a sense of understanding for where each side is coming from.
So if people want to be part of debunking this information, they will take those extra steps. So I wonder, Pride, does this like take the joy out of just being on social media for you, or do you still enjoy spending time on there?
I definitely enjoy spending time on social media. We should not look at my like screen time activity.
We will not judge your screen time activity. I promise I won't.
Like every Sunday, I get the notification and it's like, your screen time went up.
Do you try to monitor that?
Hmm?
Do you try to monitor your screen time?
Relatively.
Yeah.
I try to make sure that I have like a good balance with social media because I think like being on social media too much can like give you this like false sense of like reality.
Yes.
And I do think it's like really important to stay grounded and to, like connect with people in real life too.
I think that's one of the reasons that people of my generation have been, just they're kind of like, how are these kids going to do? How are y'all going to? And it's nice for me to be able to check in with you. You and I are of two very different generations, and I love hearing you articulate what this experience is like for you, because for us who grew up without all of that and are now in it, we know what it's like before and then now, right? And so it's fascinating for me, and I'm not using you like as some sort of case study, but it's really important for, well, I think that we have to be able to see each other's viewpoint and to be able to tap in and hear from you about what it's like being, a teenager on her way to womanhood in this social media age while all of this, misinformation is flying around. So thank you for letting me ask you some of these questions. You're
Good.
representing the youth, Pride. So, I joke about it, but I think it's good advice. We've got this big presidential election coming up again. This is a presidential election year, and always, right? The rhetoric and vitriol starts ramping up more and more, particularly online. Give a good word to some of us old heads that also need to be keeping mindful about misinformation, and also not, I don't know, maybe not letting our emotions get the best of us during some of these debates that might happen in some of the comment sections. Give us some good practices, Pride.
Okay. My biggest one that I give in my videos, almost all of them, is to take a step back, breathe, and check your emotions.
Ooh, I like this.
It's really important to like check your emotions because it'll help you better to navigate it and determine like what's the best thing for you to do in that situation. If you're feeling sad, you might want to look up if, certain policy is actually going to be implemented. If you're feeling angry, you might also want to look that up. But I think it's more of a matter of taking initiative and like looking directly grassroots at the issues that you're seeing, looking at nonpartisan sources too, think PolitiFact, because those sites are often unbiased and will just give you information about either side and what they stand for.
Look, I think you're spot on. Spot on. Really good counsel, not just for teens, but also for us with a little bit of gray at our temples. So you're graduated now. By the time this airs, you'll have graduated, and you are headed for university this fall. Tell the people where you're going.
I am going to Howard University.
You're going to be a bison, and cue the Howard alum applause. And you're going to study what? What's your plan for your major?
My major is in television and film.
I love that.
Yes.
And what's your dream? If you at this point, and you're allowed to change your dream, by the way, what do you think you might want to do?
I'd love to pursue a career in communications. And in some way, shape, or form, I want to like help people in my community and beyond with understanding stuff and like bridging the gaps with disparities and bringing awareness to it.
Sometimes we just need to get a good word from the youth, and we got that today. I couldn't love this more for you, and I'm thrilled, thrilled, thrilled that you are pursuing this because you have such a bright mind, my dear. You have such a bright mind, and I think you're going to go very far. So people are going to want to know where to find the Media Wise fact-checking platform. It may be geared to teens, but I think anybody of any age could benefit from it. No?
Yes, anybody.
Where do they find it?
So you can find MediaWise on pretty much any social media platform. We're on X, we're on TikTok, we're on Instagram, we're on YouTube, and just at MediaWise, MEDIAWISE.
I love it. And I want to point them to the YouTube series for all of you that might need to send this now and then to somebody in your life that sends you some stuff that you want to debunk and you need a little assist. Is This Legit? Lives on YouTube still, correct?
Yes.
Well, Pride, congratulations on graduation. I think there's a wide world that awaits you. And thank you so much for joining us on the platform. And thank you for the work that you're doing to debunk misinformation. That is really important work. And the fact that you took this on your own is really remarkable.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And for the rest of you tuning in, thanks so much for joining us for another episode. Do tell a friend and be sure to subscribe. We'll catch you next time.